set out to bring home meat for his people, but what he carried back instead would challenge every belief he ever held, and change the fate of two worlds forever. What happened out there on the plains? And why was she alone? Thank you so much for watching and for all your comments. Let me know at the end if you liked the story, and where you're watching from, and why you're following this. The summer sun blazed mercilessly over the Texas plains in 1867, casting long shadows across the rugged terrain where the Comanche people had roamed freely for generations. 24-year-old Running Wolf urged his painted horse forward, his dark eyes scanning the horizon for signs of buffalo or deer. His tribe depended on successful hunts, and the responsibility weighed heavily on his broad shoulders. The leather fringe on his buckskin leggings swayed with each movement of his mount, and the bow strapped across his back reminded him of his purpose. Running Wolf had been tracking a small herd of deer since dawn, moving quietly through the scattered mesquite trees and tall grass. The wind carried the scent of dust and sage, mixing with the earthy smell of his horse's sweat. He was several miles from his village now, farther than he had intended to venture, but the hunt had led him here. His people needed meat for the coming days, and he would not return empty-handed if he could help it. As he crested a rocky hill, something unexpected caught his attention. Through the shimmering heat, he saw movement that was neither animal nor warrior. Running Wolf pulled his horse to a halt, his hand instinctively moving to the knife at his belt. Squinting against the bright sunlight, he could make out a figure stumbling through the brush below, moving erratically like a wounded creature. Drawing closer with caution, Running Wolf's breath caught in his throat. It was a woman, a white woman, her dress torn to shreds and hanging from her thin frame in tatters. Her blonde hair was matted with dirt and tangled with burrs, falling past her shoulders in wild disarray. Her skin, burned red by the relentless sun, was covered in scratches and bruises. She wore no shoes, and her feet left bloody prints on the rocky ground. She walked as if in a trance, her movements mechanical and desperate. Running Wolf approached slowly, not wanting to startle her. When his horse's hooves crunched on gravel, the woman spun around, her blue eyes wide with terror. She stumbled backward, nearly falling, her hands raised defensively. Her lips were cracked and bleeding, and when she tried to speak, only a hoarse whisper emerged. "Please," she managed, her voice barely audible. "Please don't hurt me." The warrior dismounted carefully, holding his hands out to show he meant no harm. He could see she was near collapse, her body trembling from exhaustion, dehydration, and fear. Whatever had happened to this woman, it had been terrible. Running Wolf retrieved his water pouch from his horse and stepped forward slowly, offering it to her. At first, she hesitated, her eyes darting between his face and the water. Survival instinct won over fear, and she snatched the pouch from his hands, drinking greedily. Water spilled down her chin and neck as she drank too fast, choking slightly before forcing herself to slow down. Running Wolf watched her carefully, noting every injury, every sign of trauma. She had been through something horrific. "What is your name?" he asked in halting English, words he had learned from traders who occasionally passed through Comanche territory. His accent was thick, but his meaning was clear. The woman lowered the water pouch, her hands still shaking. "Sarah," she whispered, her voice cracking. "Sarah Mitchell. I was with a wagon train. We were attacked 3 days ago. Raiders, white men, not Indians. They killed everyone. They took me." She paused, her eyes filling with tears that carved clean lines through the dirt on her face. "I managed to escape last night when they were drunk. I've been walking ever since. I don't know where I am." Running Wolf understood enough to piece together her story. White outlaws, the kind who brought shame to all people with their cruelty and lawlessness. He had encountered such men before, and he knew the suffering they caused. Looking at Sarah, he saw not just a white woman, but a human being in desperate need of help. His people valued honor and compassion, even toward strangers. "You cannot survive alone out here," Running Wolf said, gesturing to the vast emptiness around them. "No water, no food, no shelter. The sun will kill you before tomorrow." He paused, considering his options. Taking a white woman to his village would cause complications, but leaving her to die was not something his conscience would allow. "I will help you." Sarah's eyes widened with fresh fear. "You're taking me prisoner?" she asked, her voice rising in panic. She took a step back, nearly falling again in her weakened state. Running Wolf shook his head firmly. Not prisoner, guest. My people will give you food, water, medicine. When you are strong, we help you find your people. He saw the doubt in her eyes, the fear bred from stories she had surely heard about his people. I give you my word, you will not be harmed. Sarah studied his face for a long moment, searching for deception and finding none. What choice did she have? She was dying out here in this merciless wilderness. If this Comanche warrior wanted to harm her, he could have done so already. Instead, he had given her water and spoken kindly. She nodded slowly, too exhausted to argue or run anymore. Running Wolf removed the blanket from his horse and wrapped it around Sarah's shoulders, covering her torn clothing. The gesture was both practical and respectful. He then helped her onto his horse, noting how light she was, how fragile she seemed. Abandoning the hunt, he turned his horse toward home, walking alongside it to ease the burden on the animal. The deer would have to wait. Today, he had found something more important than meat. As they traveled, Sarah drifted in and out of consciousness, her head nodding forward as exhaustion claimed her. Running Wolf kept a steady pace, his mind racing with thoughts of how to explain this to his family and tribe. His mother, Singing Bird, would understand. She had always taught him that compassion was the mark of true strength. His father had died in battle 2 winters ago, so the decision would rest largely with his mother and the tribal elders. The sun was beginning its descent toward the horizon when Running Wolf's village came into view. Clusters of buffalo hide teepees dotted the landscape near a creek, smoke rising from cooking fires. Children played in the shallows while women worked on hides and men tended to horses. The normal sounds of village life filled the air, laughter and conversation mixing with the barking of dogs. As Running Wolf approached with Sarah slumped on his horse, wrapped in his blanket, the activity gradually ceased. People stopped what they were doing and stared, first in curiosity, then in shock and confusion. A white woman, here in their village. Warriors reached for their weapons instinctively, not in aggression, but in caution. Women pulled their children closer. Running Wolf's mother emerged from her teepee, her weathered face creasing with concern as she hurried toward her son. At 50 winters old, Singing Bird was a respected woman in the tribe, known for her wisdom and healing skills. Her long, gray-streaked hair was braided neatly, and she wore a buckskin dress decorated with intricate beadwork. "My son, what have you brought home?" Singing Bird asked in their native tongue, her eyes moving from Running Wolf to the barely conscious woman on the horse. "A woman who needs our help, mother," Running Wolf replied, his voice steady despite the uncertainty of the situation. "She was attacked by white outlaws, left to die in the desert. I could not leave her there." Singing Bird stepped closer, her experienced eyes assessing Sarah's condition. She saw the burns, the dehydration, the trauma. Her healer's instinct overrode any other considerations. "Bring her to my teepee," she commanded. "Quickly, she is very sick." Running Wolf carefully lifted Sarah from the horse, cradling her in his strong arms. She stirred slightly, her blue eyes opening briefly to look at the faces surrounding her. Fear flickered across her features, but she was too weak to resist. Running Wolf carried her into his mother's teepee, laying her gently on a pile of soft buffalo robes. Singing Bird immediately set to work, calling for water, herbs, and clean cloths. Other women from the tribe came to assist, their initial wariness giving way to concern for the suffering woman before them. They removed the tattered remnants of Sarah's dress, covering her modestly with clean hides while they began to treat her wounds. They washed the dirt and blood from her skin, applied healing salves to her burns and cuts, and forced water and broth between her cracked lips. Running Wolf stood outside the teepee, his arms crossed over his chest as he waited. Other warriors had gathered, their faces showing mixtures of curiosity, suspicion, and disapproval. Gray Eagle, one of the tribal elders, approached with measured steps. His face was deeply lined, his hair completely white, and his eyes held the wisdom of 70 winters. "You bring a white woman to our village, Running Wolf," Gray Eagle said, his voice gravelly but not unkind. "This could bring trouble to our people. The white soldiers look for excuses to attack us." "I understand your concern, grandfather," Running Wolf replied respectfully, using the honorific term for elders. "But she is not a soldier or settler who chose to be here. She is a victim, attacked by evil men. Would we be any better than those outlaws if we left her to die when we could save her? Gray Eagle considered this, his weathered face thoughtful. Your heart is good, young warrior. But hearts alone do not protect villages. We must think carefully about what to do. He placed a hand on Running Wolf's shoulder. For now, she will stay. Your mother will heal her body. Then we will decide her fate. 3 days passed before Sarah fully regained consciousness. When her eyes finally opened with clarity, the first thing she saw was the interior of a teepee, sunlight filtering through the hide walls creating a warm, golden glow. The air smelled of sage and wood smoke. Her body ached, but the sharp, desperate pain had faded to a dull throb. Clean buckskin covered her and she could feel soft furs beneath her body. For a moment, confusion clouded her mind. Where was she? Then the memories came flooding back. The attack, the escape, the Comanche warrior who had found her. Sarah sat up slowly, her head spinning slightly. A woman was sitting nearby, grinding herbs in a stone bowl. When she noticed Sarah was awake, she smiled gently and spoke in words Sarah did not understand. The woman's face was kind, her eyes warm with compassion. She offered Sarah a cup of something that smelled earthy and bitter, gesturing for her to drink. I don't understand, Sarah said weakly, but she accepted the cup. The liquid was warm and unpleasant, but she drank it, trusting that these people who had cared for her this long meant her no harm. The teepee flap opened, and Running Wolf entered, ducking his head to pass through the entrance. Sarah's breath caught. In the harsh desert where she had first seen him, she had barely registered his appearance beyond the initial terror. Now, in the softer light of the teepee, she saw him clearly. He was tall and powerfully built, his features strong and striking. His long black hair was adorned with a single eagle feather, and his dark eyes held an intensity that was both commanding and gentle. You are awake, Running Wolf said in English, relief evident in his voice. This is good. My mother, Singing Bird, has been caring for you. She is a skilled healer. Sarah looked at the woman who smiled at the mention of her name. Thank you, Sarah said, her voice still hoarse. She turned back to Running Wolf. Thank you for saving my life. I thought I was going to die out there. You would have died, Running Wolf said matter-of-factly, sitting cross-legged on the ground near her. 2 more hours, maybe less. The desert does not forgive weakness. He paused, studying her face. You are stronger now. Your body is healing, but your spirit still carries shadows. Sarah's eyes filled with tears. The trauma of what she had endured crashed over her like a wave. The wagon train attack, watching her parents and younger brother murdered, the days of horror with the outlaws. She wrapped her arms around herself, her body shaking with silent sobs. Singing Bird made a soft sound of sympathy and moved closer, placing a comforting hand on Sarah's shoulder. Though they shared no common language, the gesture of compassion was universal. Running Wolf remained where he was, giving Sarah space to grieve while still offering his presence as support. I had nothing, Sarah finally said, wiping her eyes with the back of her hand. We were traveling to California to start a new life. My father had bought land there. We were going to build a ranch. Now they're all gone. Everything is gone. I have nothing left. You have your life, Running Wolf said quietly. That is not nothing. From life, all other things can grow again. He shifted his position slightly. You must rest more, eat more, become strong. Then we will help you return to your people if that is what you wish. Over the following weeks, Sarah slowly recovered her strength. Singing Bird proved to be a patient and attentive caregiver, treating Sarah's wounds with remarkable skill. The burns healed without infection. The cuts closed cleanly, and gradually Sarah's body regained its health. But healing her spirit would take much longer. The village was a strange and sometimes frightening new world for Sarah. Everything was different from what she had known. The language, the customs, the way of life. Children stared at her with curious eyes, some brave enough to approach and touch her blonde hair with wonder. Most adults kept their distance, watching her with varying degrees of suspicion and curiosity. Sarah understood their wariness. She was an outsider, a representative of a people who had brought so much pain and destruction to the Comanche way of life. Running Wolf became her guide and protector. He taught her basic words in his language, helped her understand the customs and rules of the village, and shielded her from those who viewed her presence with open hostility. Some warriors believed she should be sent away immediately, arguing that helping a white woman was foolish and dangerous. Running Wolf listened to their concerns but remained firm in his conviction that she deserved their help. "Why are you being so kind to me?" Sarah asked one afternoon as they sat by the creek. She had been in the village for nearly 3 weeks now, and her health had improved dramatically. She wore a simple buckskin dress that Singing Bird had made for her, and her hair, finally clean and brushed, fell in soft waves past her shoulders. "Your people have every reason to hate mine." Running Wolf was silent for a long moment, watching the water flow over smooth stones. "Hate is easy," he finally said. "Hate grows like weeds, choking everything good. My father taught me this before he died. He said that we cannot control what others do to us, but we can control what we become because of it." He turned to look at her, his dark eyes intense. "You are not the people who hurt my tribe. You are Sarah, one person, one life. I will not punish you for the sins of others." Sarah felt something shift in her chest, a warmth that had nothing to do with the afternoon sun. She had been taught to fear Indians, told they were savages without mercy or honor. Yet here was this man, this warrior who could have left her to die or taken revenge for the wrongs done to his people, choosing instead compassion and kindness. "I don't know what I would have done without you," she said softly. As the days turned into weeks, Sarah found herself adapting to life in the village. She learned to help with daily tasks, working alongside the women to scrape hides, gather wood, and prepare food. The work was hard, far harder than anything she had done in her previous life, but there was a satisfaction in it. Slowly, cautiously, some of the women began to accept her. They corrected her mistakes with patience, taught her their skills, and gradually, barriers began to fall. Running Wolf and Sarah spent more time together. He took her on walks around the territory, showing her the land he loved, teaching her which plants were safe to eat and which to avoid. They talked for hours, sharing stories of their different worlds. Sarah told him about growing up in Virginia, about books and schools and cities. Running Wolf shared tales of his childhood, of learning to hunt and ride, of the vast freedom of the plains before the white settlers came in ever-increasing numbers. One evening, as they sat watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and purple, Sarah realized she was happy. Despite everything she had lost, despite being in a place so foreign to everything she had known, she felt a sense of peace she had not experienced in months, and she knew the reason for that peace was sitting beside her. "Running Wolf," she said, her voice quiet. "I need to tell you something." She hesitated, searching for the right words. "When I first came here, all I could think about was leaving, getting back to my own people. But now I'm not sure where I belong anymore. Your world has become familiar to me, and you have become important to me." Running Wolf turned to look at her, his expression unreadable. "You have become important to me as well, Sarah," he said, his voice carrying a weight of emotion he rarely showed. "But I do not know if this is wise. Our peoples are at war. Your presence here already causes tension. Some believe you are a spy, others that you will bring soldiers to our village." "I would never do that," Sarah said fiercely. "These people saved my life. You saved my life. I would die before I betrayed you." "I believe you," Running Wolf said. "But belief is not enough for some. Grey Eagle has told me that when you are fully healed, the council will meet to decide what must be done. Some will argue you should be taken to the nearest fort and released to the white soldiers. Others will say you should be sent far away and told never to return." Sarah felt her heart sink. She had not thought beyond each day, too focused on healing and survival. But of course, there would be a reckoning. She could not simply live here forever as if she belonged. "What do you think should happen?" she asked, almost afraid of the answer. Running Wolf was quiet for a long time, the silence stretching between them. Finally he spoke, his words careful and deliberate. "I think that you should have a choice. If you wish to return to your people, I will make sure you reach them safely. But if you wish to stay, if you wish to make a life here, I will speak for you before the council. I will ask them to allow you to remain as one of us." "And if they refuse?" Sarah asked, her throat tight. "Then I will respect their decision," Running Wolf said, "but I will not pretend it will not pain me. He reached out and took her hand, his calloused fingers warm against hers. "You have brought something into my life I did not expect, Sarah. You have made me see beyond the borders of what I thought possible. Whatever happens, I am grateful for that." The council meeting was called on a clear autumn morning when the air held the first hint of coming winter. Sarah had been in the village for 2 months, and in that time she had become part of the daily rhythm of life there, yet she remained an outsider in the eyes of many. She sat in Running Wolf's family tepee with Singing Bird, who held her hand in silent support, while the men gathered in the council lodge to discuss her fate. Running Wolf stood before the circle of elders and warriors, his posture straight and his voice strong as he made his case. "Brothers, fathers, I speak to you about the white woman, Sarah, who has lived among us these past moons. I ask the council to allow her to remain with us, to become a member of our tribe, if she so chooses." Murmurs rippled through the gathered men. Gray Eagle raised his hand for silence. "Running Wolf, your courage is known to all of us, as is your honor. But what you ask is unprecedented. We have taken captives before, yes, but never have we invited a white woman to join us of her own will. Why should we grant this? Because she has proven herself worthy," Running Wolf replied. "She works hard, learns our ways, shows respect to our people. She has asked for nothing but the chance to live. The women who work with her speak well of her. My mother, whose wisdom you all respect, believes Sarah has a good heart. Is that not enough?" "It is not about her heart," said Stonehand, a warrior of 40 winters with a scarred face and a reputation for harshness. "It is about what her presence means for us. The white men search for any excuse to attack our villages. If they learn we harbor one of their women, they will come with soldiers and guns. They will not care that she stays willingly. They will only see that we have taken what is theirs." "She is not property to be owned," Running Wolf countered, his voice rising with passion. "She is a free woman who has suffered much. Would you condemn her to return to a world that holds only painful memories? She has no family left, no home to return to. Here she has found peace." "And what of you, Running Wolf?" asked Black Bear, a younger warrior known for his sharp observations. "Is this truly about helping this woman, or has your heart become entangled with hers? We all see how you look at her, how you defend her. If your judgment is clouded by desire, then your words cannot be trusted." Running Wolf did not flinch from the accusation. "My heart is indeed involved," he admitted, his honesty causing more murmurs among the council. "I care for Sarah deeply, but that does not make my arguments less true. She has earned the right to choose her own path. I ask only that we give her that choice." The debate continued for hours, voices rising and falling as arguments were made from all sides. Some spoke of honor and compassion, others of practicality and survival. The division was clear. Roughly half the council sympathized with Running Wolf's position, while the other half believed Sarah's presence was too dangerous to allow. Finally, Gray Eagle stood, commanding silence with his presence alone. "We will vote," he declared. "But first I wish to hear from the woman herself. Bring her here." A young warrior was sent to fetch Sarah. She entered the council lodge with her head held high despite her trembling hands, her blue eyes moving from face to face as she stood before these men who would decide her future. Running Wolf moved to stand beside her, a gesture of support that did not go unnoticed. "Sarah Mitchell," Gray Eagle said, speaking slowly so she could understand his accented English. "Running Wolf speaks for you, asks that you be allowed to stay with our people. But I must hear from you. Why do you wish to remain here? Do you not long for your own people, your own way of life?" Sarah took a deep breath, gathering her courage. "Honored elder," she began, her voice shaking but growing stronger as she spoke. "I will not lie to you. When I first came here, I was terrified. I wanted only to survive and return to what I knew. But in these months, something has changed. Your people showed me kindness when they could have shown me cruelty. They healed me when I was broken. They gave me purpose when I had lost everything." She paused, looking around the circle of faces. "I know my people have brought great suffering to yours. I cannot change that or make amends for it. But I can say that I have found more humanity, more honor, More true compassion here than I ever knew in the world I came from. If you allow me to stay, I will work hard. I will learn your ways. I will be loyal to this tribe as if I were born to it, and I will never betray the trust you place in me." Gray Eagle studied her for a long moment. "And what of Running Wolf? He has feelings for you. Do you share these feelings?" Sarah felt heat rise to her cheeks, but she met the elder's eyes without wavering. "I do," she said simply. "He saved my life and then taught me how to live again. He has shown me what true strength and kindness look like. Yes, I care for him deeply." "Then you seek not just a place in our tribe, but a place in his lodge as his wife?" Gray Eagle pressed. Sarah glanced at Running Wolf, seeing the hope and uncertainty in his eyes. "If he would have me, and if your people would accept it, then yes. That is what my heart wants." The council erupted in heated discussion. The very idea of a white woman marrying a Comanche warrior was shocking to some, while others saw it as a dangerous precedent. But there were also voices of support, those who had witnessed Sarah's transformation and believed in her sincerity. After more debate, Gray Eagle called for the vote. One by one, the council members spoke their decision. The votes were close, painfully close, but when the last voice was heard, the decision was made. Sarah would be allowed to stay, to undergo the rituals that would make her a member of the tribe, and to marry Running Wolf if that remained their wish after the trial period of 1 full moon. When Sarah heard the decision through Running Wolf's translation, tears streamed down her face. She had been given a second chance at life, a new beginning she had never imagined possible. Running Wolf's face showed his relief and joy, though he maintained the stoic composure expected of a warrior in the council lodge. Gray Eagle stood once more. "Sarah Mitchell, you will be given a new name when you complete your initiation. You will learn our language, our customs, our ways of being. You will work with the women and prove yourself worthy of the trust we place in you. And you, Running Wolf, will be responsible for her. Her actions will reflect on you. If she betrays us, you will share in the consequences." "I understand, grandfather, and I accept this responsibility," Running Wolf said solemnly. The following weeks were intense for Sarah. She was assigned to work with several of the older women who taught her everything from the proper way to tan hides to the complex social protocols of tribal life. She learned to speak Comanche with increasing fluency, her accent bringing smiles to those who helped her. She participated in her first buffalo hunt, though only in the capacity of helping process the meat and hides afterward, and felt a sense of contribution she had never experienced before. Singing Bird took particular joy in teaching Sarah the skills she would need as Running Wolf's wife. They talked often, using a mixture of Comanche, English, and gestures to communicate. Singing Bird told Sarah stories of Running Wolf's childhood, of his bravery and kindness even as a young boy. Sarah, in turn, shared memories of her lost family, and Singing Bird listened with a mother's compassion, understanding the depth of that loss. "You have sadness in your past," Singing Bird said one day as they worked together on a new dress for Sarah, one appropriate for the marriage ceremony. "But sadness does not have to be your future. My son will be a good husband. He has his father's strength and his mother's heart. He will protect you and honor you." "I know," Sarah said, her fingers working carefully on the intricate beadwork Singing Bird was teaching her. "I never thought I could be happy again after what happened. But Running Wolf has shown me that life can hold joy even after terrible sorrow." The moon cycle passed, and Sarah's initiation ceremony approached. She would be given a Comanche name and formally accepted into the tribe. The ceremony took place at sunset, with the entire village gathered. Sarah stood before Gray Eagle, her heart pounding as he spoke the words that would transform her identity. "You came to us as Sarah Mitchell, a white woman lost and broken," Gray Eagle said, his voice carrying across the assembled crowd. "You have worked hard, learned our ways, and shown respect to our people. Today you are reborn. From this day forward you will be known as Morning Sky, for you bring light after darkness, hope after despair." The crowd responded with calls of acceptance, and Sarah, now Morning Sky, felt tears of joy streaming down her face. She was home, truly home in a way she had never expected to feel again. The wedding ceremony took place 3 days after Morning Sky's naming ceremony, under a full moon that bathed the village in silver light. It was a simple affair by some standards. but rich with meaning and tradition. Morning Sky wore the dress she and Singing Bird had made together, soft buckskin decorated with intricate beadwork in patterns that told stories of new beginnings and unity between different worlds. Her blonde hair was adorned with feathers and beads, styled in the manner of Comanche women. Running Wolf stood tall and proud, wearing his finest buckskin shirt decorated with quill work and his father's ceremonial necklace. His face was painted with symbols of protection and prosperity, and his dark eyes never left Morning Sky as she approached the ceremonial fire where he waited. Gray Eagle performed the ceremony, speaking words of blessing and wisdom while the tribe looked on. The couple exchanged gifts. Morning Sky gave Running Wolf a pair of moccasins she had made with her own hands, decorated with symbols of the eagle for strength and the wolf for loyalty. Running Wolf presented Morning Sky with a beautiful horse, a sign of his respect and commitment to providing for her. When the ceremony concluded and they were pronounced husband and wife, the village erupted in celebration. There was feasting and dancing, songs and stories shared late into the night. Even those who had initially opposed Morning Sky's acceptance into the tribe seemed caught up in the joy of the occasion. It was a wedding that symbolized not just the union of two people, but the possibility of bridges being built between worlds. As the celebration continued, Running Wolf and Morning Sky slipped away to the teepee that would now be their home. Inside, away from the noise and revelry, they finally had a moment alone together as husband and wife. Morning Sky's heart raced with a mixture of nervousness and joy as Running Wolf took her hands in his. "I never thought this would be my life," Morning Sky said softly, looking up into his eyes. "6 months ago, I was dying in the desert, certain my story was over. Now I'm here, married to you, part of a tribe, with a new name and a new life. Sometimes I still can't believe it's real." "It is real," Running Wolf assured her, raising her hands to his lips and kissing them gently. "You are my wife, Morning Sky. You are part of my heart, part of my life, part of my people. We will build a good life together. I promise you this." They embraced, and in that moment, all the pain and loss of the past felt distant. Morning Sky had found not just survival, but purpose, belonging, and love in the most unexpected of places. Running Wolf held her close, grateful for the day he had chosen compassion over indifference, for the choice that had brought this remarkable woman into his life. The months that followed their marriage were among the happiest either of them had known. Morning Sky continued to adapt to her new life, her skills growing with each passing day. She became proficient in the Comanche language, losing most of her accent. She learned to ride like a Comanche woman, to track game, to identify medicinal plants. The women of the tribe fully accepted her as one of their own, and even the warriors who had once been skeptical came to respect her dedication and hard work. Running Wolf proved to be everything Singing Bird had promised: a devoted husband, a skilled provider, and a kind partner. He treated Morning Sky with respect and affection, always considering her thoughts and feelings. They talked for hours about everything and nothing, sharing their dreams for the future and their memories of the past. He taught her to shoot a bow and arrow, and she taught him the English words for stars and moonlight, laughter and love. When winter came, it brought challenges but also deepened the bonds of their marriage. Huddled together against the cold, they told each other stories, made plans, and simply enjoyed each other's presence. Singing Bird often joined them, and the three of them became a close family unit. Morning Sky found in Singing Bird not just a mother-in-law but the mother figure she had lost. Spring arrived with a spectacular display of wildflowers across the plains, and with it came news that filled Morning Sky with both joy and apprehension. She was with child. The realization hit her one morning when she woke feeling unwell, and Singing Bird confirmed her suspicions with a knowing smile. When Morning Sky told Running Wolf, his reaction was everything she could have hoped for. His face lit up with a joy so pure and complete that it brought tears to her eyes. He lifted her off her feet, spinning her around before setting her down gently, as if she had suddenly become as fragile as glass. "A child," he breathed, his hand moving to rest on her still flat belly. "Our child, a bridge between worlds, carrying both our bloodlines." He looked into her eyes, his own shining with unshed tears. "I am the most blessed man alive, Morning Sky. You have given me so much, your trust, your love, your life, and now this gift. I'm scared, Morning Sky admitted. What kind of world are we bringing this child into? Our peoples are at war. What will that mean for a child who belongs to both and neither? Running Wolf pulled her close, resting his chin on top of her head. I do not know what the future holds, he said honestly. The world is changing and not always for the better. But I know this. Our child will be born into love. They will know both sides of their heritage. They will be taught strength and compassion, honor and kindness. And they will know that they are wanted and cherished. As Morning Sky's pregnancy progressed, she found herself thinking often about the strange path her life had taken. If someone had told her a year ago that she would be living as a Comanche woman, married to a warrior, and carrying his child, she would have thought them mad. Yet here she was, happier than she had ever been. The village treated her pregnancy with great care and celebration. Singing Bird was overjoyed at the prospect of becoming a grandmother. She fussed over Morning Sky constantly, preparing special teas and foods, ensuring her daughter-in-law rested properly. The other women of the tribe offered advice and shared their own birthing stories, welcoming Morning Sky fully into the circle of mothers. On a warm summer evening, as the sun painted the sky in shades of pink and gold, Morning Sky went into labor. Singing Bird and the other experienced women attended her, their capable hands and soothing voices guiding her through the long hours of childbirth. Running Wolf waited outside, pacing with the nervous energy of all new fathers throughout history, regardless of culture. When dawn broke over the plains, a baby's cry pierced the air. Running Wolf rushed into the teepee to find Morning Sky exhausted but radiant, cradling a tiny bundle in her arms. "A son," she whispered, her voice hoarse from hours of labor but filled with wonder. "We have a son." Running Wolf knelt beside them, his tough warrior's exterior crumbling as he looked at his child for the first time. The baby had Morning Sky's fair skin, but his dark hair and features that seemed to blend both parents. "He is perfect," Running Wolf said, his voice thick with emotion. "What shall we name him?" They had discussed this during the pregnancy, wanting a name that honored both worlds. "Two Rivers," Morning Sky suggested. "Because he comes from two peoples, two worlds flowing together into one." "Two Rivers," Running Wolf repeated, testing the name. He smiled. "Yes, it is a good name. He will be two rivers, and he will be a bridge between our peoples. Perhaps children like him are the future, the hope that our peoples can someday live in peace." Gray Eagle came to bless the baby, and the village celebrated the birth with joy. Looking at the infant, many saw what Running Wolf and Morning Sky hoped for. A symbol that different worlds could unite, that love could overcome division, that new life could spring from ashes. As the celebrations continued outside, Morning Sky and Running Wolf sat together in their teepee, their son sleeping peacefully between them. They looked at each other with deep love and gratitude, thinking of the unlikely journey that had brought them to this moment. "I went hunting for meat that day," Running Wolf said softly, a smile playing at his lips. "But instead I found you, the greatest treasure of my life. And I was lost and dying," Morning Sky replied, reaching out to take his hand. "But you brought me home, to a home I never knew I was searching for." They sat in comfortable silence, watching their son sleep, thinking of the future he represented. Outside, the sounds of the village settling into evening routine filled the air. Children playing their last games before bedtime, women calling their families to meals, horses nickering in the gathering dusk. It was the sound of home, of community, of belonging. Morning Sky thought of Sarah Mitchell, the frightened girl stumbling through the desert, and marveled at how much had changed. She had lost everything but gained so much more. She had found not just survival, but a life worth living. Not just acceptance, but true belonging. Not just shelter, but a real home. And most importantly, she had found love in the most unexpected of places, with the most unexpected of people. Running Wolf watched his wife and child, his heart full to bursting. He had saved one life that day in the desert, but in doing so, she had saved his as well. Morning Sky had taught him that compassion was never wasted, that opening one's heart despite risk was the bravest thing a warrior could do. Together, they had created something beautiful and rare, a love that transcended the boundaries their peoples had drawn, a family that embodied hope for a better future. As darkness fell and the stars emerged in the vast Texas sky, the little family drifted towards sleep, safe and warm and together. Whatever challenges lay ahead, whatever difficulties the future might bring, they would face them together. They had already overcome the impossible. They had found each other across a divide that should have been impassable. They had built a life, a love, and now a legacy in their son. The story that had begun with a dying woman in the desert had become a tale of redemption, transformation, and love that conquered all obstacles. Morning Sky closed her eyes, Running Wolf's arm around her and their son breathing softly between them, and knew that she was exactly where she was meant to be, home at last.